Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. In this episode, we're going to do something different. We're going to analyze all of the last photos, around about half a dozen fairly grainy images. These are the last images of Titan before the incident, taken mostly on Sunday morning, very early Sunday morning, June 18. I think one of the photos is from Saturday morning, June 17th. One of the things you want to look at when we zoom into these photos is to check whether there's any sign of damage either to the platform or to the Titan itself. Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. If you're enjoying this analysis, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. Now, thanks to this post from Hamish Harding, and I dealt with him in the previous episode, I'll be continuing that analysis in the next episode. But for now, we know the plan was to launch on Sunday, June 18th at 4 a.m. Thanks to his final post, we know what that launch time plan was. When he refers to dive operations, that probably refers to all measures getting the craft and crew ready for launch. It's common cause that the Titan ultimately launched at around 5:45 a.m., which is when these images were taken. If these images are accurate, it suggests that there was a delay of at least 3/4 of an hour prior to launch after the hatch and its 17 bolts, is it 17 bolts or 18 bolts, had been closed and sealed up tight. Did they have difficulty launching on the unsteady platform? Was there something else that was not aligned or not working properly? Well, what can we tell from these images? Well, if you look closely, we can tell a few things. Number one, the sea is fairly calm, and I did go and have a look at the weather history, and it did look like the 18th and 19th were some of the best weather days for the month of June. So there was a weather window. So the sea is fairly calm in this image, but does it look like there are a few white horses already visible in the background? Number two, and this I found hadn't noticed before. The rear nose cone is missing from the submersible. It seems very late for this not to be part of the vehicle. Was there a problem with the rear nose cone or something that was within the rear nose cone that they had to perhaps remove it? Also, what is that dark line? It's kind of a longish dark line below the nose cone. Is that just them trying to close it? Were they having difficulty closing it? Also, is the platform damaged? And I suppose one needs to look at other reference images to get a sense of not only what the platform ordinarily looked like, but also how high it would tend to ride out of the water. You will notice that it actually stands on a platform that has got what appears to be 4 horizontal parallel layers. And so how much of that tends to stick out above the water? Well, it tends to be 1 at the most 2 of those layers. That seems to be kind of the average. There's also some reason to believe the platform sustained serious damage based on this image by Travel Weekly's Arnie Wiseman, as well as his reporting that it took half a day to get the half-drowning submersible. It was not only the submersible, but the submersible and platform that had sort of toppled, the one end had toppled into the water, and it was sort of half-drowning. And bear in mind, this incident took place less than a month before the final fatal mission. Number 4, unless 2 Zodiacs were used, in one image it seems to be missing its meshy nose and in the other it still has it. I've also found the last images of Titan being towed out of St. John's for the very last time. If you zoom in on these images, is there anything to behold in terms of the rear of the Titan? Is the platform riding the right length out of the water? Is there any clear damage visible based on what Arnie Wiseman said from this particular view of the platform? We know from Hamish Harding's photo of the Titan, and this was, I think, taken on Saturday, June 17th, it also appeared to be lurching to one side. It didn't seem to be in a normal posture, if that's the word. And this is where things get really interesting and kind of bizarre. When you zoom in on that particular image, the image Hamish Harding took, you also see that the rear nose cone doesn't seem to be there. So the question is there any significance to this? It's hard to say, but we do know the Polar Prince left hours behind schedule for Mission 3, and I think Stockton went out in person to deal with some issues affecting the platform and submersible prior to Mission 3, where he put on his diving gear and he went out. And then you also saw Arnie Wiseman. He actually took this photo of Stockton Rush going out in person to check on the platform. And this is when it had sort of tipped over into the ocean. The other thing that Arnie Wiseman brings up is this idea of the platform and submersible kind of invisible somewhere in the fog, somewhere beyond the ship. And we saw footage from that one YouTuber where the people inside the ship in the mess hall were sort of, furniture was basically falling all over the place from side to side. And you can only imagine what is going on outside of the ship. And not only that, a platform on a tether. What is going on? I brought this up before. If the platform had been damaged enough to deform it, hadn't the Titan also suffered some sort of structural integrity damage? I'm going to play out this episode with a few of the last lines from the famous Percy Bysshe Shelley poem Ozymandias. And what I want you to think about when you read these lines is to reimagine the bluster surrounding the Titan, the name of the Titan, and how the rovers, the robotic vehicles, must have found and seen this wreck basically almost silhouetted by this much larger wreck of the Titanic, and that surrounding this wreckage of human ambition was a lot of sand stretching far, far away. So I'm not going to take it further than that. What I will be doing is following up our coverage of Hamish Harding, and I'm going to be asking a very important question. Who was supposed to, if anyone was supposed to stop Stockton Rush from what he was doing, who was that supposed to be? Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.